What's up, world, and welcome back. I am your host, Jameen Delmas, and we have here a special individual by the name of Sylvester Thompson. We like to call him Sly. Sly is an expert in IT, which is where he belongs and not in film or anything else outside of that. Sly specializes in virtualization storage and all things enterprise data related. Today's discussion, we're going to be discussing about the deep dives of cyber warfare and what that is going to look like. Not sure what this is going to look like on this podcast, but we're going to find out soon. Let's dive right in.
To update my LinkedIn bio.
Yeah.
Because that came straight off the website.
Yeah, you know people that put stuff on LinkedIn when it's not.
I was like, but
it's old, isn't it?
It is. It's a little bit dated. It's a little bit dated.
A lot bit dated.
Yeah.
So tell us about your specialty in your IT. You said it's a lot bit dated on LinkedIn. So what things should we change in there? What has changed?
Oh my gosh. Pretty much depends on the client. And the scope of work that companies engaged in and what we're doing. 10 years ago when I wrote that, it was all things enterprise data and virtualization, but I've kind of moved away from that. Even though those topics, those are still major support tiers within, the IT world.
So what do you specialize in now? You could do this.
I wouldn't say specialty, but working in support of large enterprise Active Directory, user accounts, objects and people and things and devices, and Fortune 500 company that shall remain nameless.
I have the name right here, the Fortune 500 company that you're trying to keep anonymous.
Really? You're not doing that. That consent agreement works both ways.
that LinkedIn account is public records.
Well, the thing of it is, and thank you, because that's I need to update that. Put some restrictions on there.
Yes. So we are diving into some cyber warfare, cyber threats that's going on across really the world. And I'm not gonna lie, technology is my field of expertise when it comes to like video production, but not like your line of work or anything. Have you ever hacked somebody before?
Depends on what your definition of hacking is.
Well, you know what
I have never. I know people who have.
Let's push his mic up closer to him.
I know people who have, but no, that would be that's.
Keep pushing. Sorry.
That would be tremendously unethical.
What?
Criminal. Firstly, let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm generally on the other side of the fence.
I don't know what that means, Sly.
I'm one of the good guys, and I've made my career being one of the good guys.
So if you hack, you're a bad guy?
Well, okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to go off the rails really quickly. I am...
Isn't there a thing called ethical hacking? And my question was, have you ever hacked anybody?
Ethical hacking, ethical hacking simply speaks to a very broad concept of using various tools and methodologies to test what they call pen testing or penetration testing. So basically all that is an organization does a self-assessment of their own vulnerabilities. Find the areas where our computer system is weak.
Mm-hmm.
Or less formidable, where they're vulnerable. So ethical hacker is just someone who's, by design, being paid to
hack a system,
fortify a system.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an oxymoron. But,
right. Yeah. FBI agents hire ethical hackers all the time to hack into systems, right? Different systems to help solve murders. I don't know, mysterious
they're not
things.
Really ethical. Right? They're not really. They've got the same skill set. They've got the same skill set, but you can't work for the FBI
and do ethical hacking.
Or do. Then it's not ethical hacking.
So you're trying to say the FBI is unethical?
No, I didn't say that. You said that. I just said, okay, years ago, case point. I did some support and training for, and actually one of our major clients is still a law enforcement agency. The people who are really good at hacking probably wouldn't pass the background checks that's necessary to become employed by our nation's law enforcement.
Because they're too good and they're doing things that are probably unethical.
Yeah. So, again, they use the same tools, same methodologies.
Do you think that I could be a good unethical hacker?
No.
Why?
Well, because that's not your background.
You don't know that.
I know you make great video productions.
You don't know that either.
Well, I've seen your work. You're good. Within your tier.
So you saying I need to stick to my niche?
Stick to what you're good at. Stick to what pays the bills.
Ethical hacking.
Okay. Well, good luck.
That's what pays the bills.
Okay. There you are.
You move his mic close. I don't know why I keep moving.
No, it's just you don't. Dude,
is it falling away?
Invest a few dollars in better equipment. You know.
Why is this leaning? It wasn't leaning at all.
It doesn't like me. Your mic is racially biased.
And he keeps leaning back.
You told me to be comfortable, right?
Yeah, be comfortable. Yeah. I don't know how that feels in your face, but
It's a little off-putting, but we're going to get through it.
I have to deal with the same thing. The look of
But only one of us is going to get paid out of this whole venture, so that makes it worthwhile on
Who's
your
that?
part. It ain't me, buddy.
It ain't me either. I ain't getting paid off this yet.
Yet being the operative word.
Operative. I like that word. See, this is what I like. Extensive vocabulary. Wouldn't have never used it.
Hey, I made the most of my public education.
Speaking of public education, okay, so what do hackers get out of hacking? Well, we talked about. Well, no, hold on. Let's bring it back. You never answered my first question, Sly.
Okay, refresh my memory.
All right, so
let's focus, Grasshopper.
Yeah. The question is, have you ever hacked anyone before?
The answer would be no.
Have you ever thought about it?
Yes.
Do you have the capabilities of doing it?
Not so much anymore, but once I did, yeah. It's a learned skill, and if you don't, like anything else, if you don't do it, it goes by the wayside. I mean, like 20 years ago, the whole concept, it's something that I find a very fascinating concept, the idea of hacktivism. So you get activists who, a good example would be the Anonymous Hackers Group. Are you familiar with them?
No, I am not.
They hack political organizations, basically people the bad actors in society. Some people, what's the guy that's hiding in the basement what's his name?
I'm bad with names. Don't ask me, Sly. I'm not good with names.
But the concept of using illicit means for a better good. There was a time in the early 2000s I was really fascinated with that, because there were some organizations.
Y'all had computers back then? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I've been working longer than you've been alive.
I'm probably not gonna keep that in the recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the editor's floor.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna do.
But no, I've never hacked anyone.
So, was there a possibility to hack with older computers, like back in the early? Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. And that's actually now not so much the computers, but some of the operating systems that drive the computers or drive the technology. That is a major vulnerability.
Do you have to be familiar with coding when it comes to hacking? Or how do you get past service? Scripting. What's that?
Versus coding. Scripting is I would describe it as a subset of a much more bigger programmatic language. I, for one, don't code.
Okay, but you script.
But I can write a script. A little snippet of a program, mini program to do a specific task.
Is coding more difficult than scripting?
I believe it is, yeah. I believe so.
So you took the easy ladder.
I approach the IT world cost benefit. I could develop this little tool, this widget to do a specific task and run that task 1,000 times. If it saves me minutes and hours in my day, it makes me more productive, and I can focus on other more meaningful tasks. So yeah, I took the easy way. I'll script it.
So most hackers taking the easy ways off of scripting.
You would use a language, Perl, Linux, perhaps even the .NET, ASPEX, and that sort of thing.
All right, is the black web and hackers is that like used interchangeably?
Yeah.
They
When
are.
people say the dark web or the black web, typically it's referred to as the dark web. Case in point, the internet functions on different protocols. Most people are familiar with www, the World Wide Web, right? The World Wide Web is not the internet.
What?
It is a very small part of the internet. Okay, an FTP, which is a file transfer protocol. That's another portion of the internet. Okay, there are those little prefixes that go in the front of your URLs in your web browser. Okay, everybody knows what the www, the World Wide Web is. When you talk about the dark web, you're talking about things that aren't as public facing. Okay, you've got to go to a direct IP address to get from point A to point B. So the dark web, in a very general sense, it's just simply portions of the internet that aren't readily available to the general public. Well, you've got to have a skill set to be able to navigate through those channels.
Turn your mic like this. See what my mic does? Turn
Like
it
this?
inward. Turn it. Nope. See what it's doing? Inward. It's going inward. Yep. Go.
So-
Yep. Bring
so-
it in some more towards you.
Uh-huh.
No, this part go in, because you're talking on the side of the mic
What,
instead of talking
like
in
this?
The mic. Yeah. No, you want to talk in the mic. You're talking on the side of the mic.
Is that better?
Yeah. For somebody who does technology, you're sure having some troubles.
Well, I don't buy my stuff off eBay either. So
Yeah. Oh,
that might
none
have-
of my stuff is on eBay.
You couldn't convince me of that, my guy. I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe the stand, but the mics are not.
I'm just going by what what we're doing here. So when they say the dark web, back to the subject at hand, those are just parts of the internet that are not easily available.
So
Okay?
how do
You're
people
talking
get
about,
access to them?
There's this thing,
Because somebody's getting access to them. Apparently,
IRC,
a lot of people
internet
are.
relay chats, where you're going IP address to IP address. And again, I'm a little dated in that part of it, but again, you said that somebody's getting access to it. Yeah, well, those people who have that skill set. It's not such a common thing now, but 20 years ago, you go into any Borders bookstore and you could get any number of publications that would help you navigate through those parts of the internet. And if you dig long enough and deep enough, you will find other like-minded people that have various intents. You can communicate with them. The email is just one way to communicate with people on the internet. There are other. Internet relay chat is one that comes to mind. So there's a whole bunch of ways to get things done on the internet other than those consumer-oriented tools that we all take for granted.
Well, that's all interesting stuff, and I'm hoping we're not boring our listeners and viewers with the jargon of internet and black web.
Actually, that's not very jargon at all.
I didn't think so either.
It's just, again, it's somewhat dated.
Could you stop touching the mic, Sly?
You
always. You know what's unique though? You're what? 50s?
And your point, what?
Okay. Then my point, I'm making it. There's a lot of individuals, especially Gen Xers and their baby boomers, who are not familiar with how to operate technology. And
Just to be clear, my friend.
Hold on.
Just to be clear. Time out. Let the adults speak now. Okay. This little janky mic does not qualify as technology. Okay,
we're not talking about that. I'm
Okay.
talking about other things. See, I wasn't even. You didn't.
Oh,
let me
I'm sorry.
finish.
I'm being a little too defensive.
Yeah, there you go. See that, but that's
There you
the
go.
stubbornness.
Ageism doesn't reflect well on you.
No, it
So
doesn't.
Behave.
I'm behaving. So what I'm saying is that older individuals are not familiar how to operate technology.
They are one of the more vulnerable demographics or populations.
How do you keep up with it, and what would you suggest to other older individuals who are not familiar with technology?
Internet is very unforgiving. I think a lot of those senior citizens, it's like any other. Our elders are vulnerable to financial scams, various frauds or attempts to fraud, things like that. How do you prevent it? How do you defend against it? On an individual basis, it's very difficult. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a case in point. Someone who meets that criteria, an older person who's got a computer, but they're not very computer literate, and you see this thing that comes in the email, and your common sense is like, well, I don't know these people, but they've got maybe a sales coupon or something to your favorite store. You click on it. Boom, you've got a Trojan. You've got, in one instance, a user at a governmental agency. You go through the user training. Do not click on suspicious or unknown email addresses. Her retort was, after she downloaded a BitLocker and just locked up a good portion of the agency's computer files, it's like, I just wanted to see what would happen when I clicked on it. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what happens.
They get hacked.
You get hacked. Ransomware.
What?
Ransomware.
What's that?
Somebody downloads something. It happens all the time. That's very.
When you click on the link.
Typically, yes.
It's okay. I'll help you.
You're on the bootleg podcast when you have to adjust your own mic settings here.
Well, you just bumped into it.
No, I moved it.
Okay.
But Emily, is it?
No. Her name's Abby.
Abby, I'm sorry. I'm just crapping all over everybody's name today. Abby.
So we talking about hackers. You saying, so I got
No. Oh, we were talking about ransomware.
Ransomware.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's basically somebody takes your stuff.
Isn't that a hacker?
It falls in the cybercrime, that very broad.
Can't people go to prison for that?
Yes.
If they get caught.
Theft, yeah.
But the thing
is, most of those people they're not like, well, they might be around the corner, but most of those people are foreign actors. You hear about the bot farms.
So we can't do anything about that if they're across seas.
Oh, no, the government does a fairly robust job, various federal agencies. I mean, there are whole divisions within the FBI and the Justice Department dedicated, also too within the NSA and the military, whose job it is to police those things.
Yeah, so we know that cybercrime has been evolving just over the decades of time. We have cybercrime cost estimated to hit at least $10.5 billion by 2025. U.S. data breach cost over $5 billion. 97% of businesses saw an increase in cyber threats since Russia and the Ukraine war. The U.S. is the #1 country targeted for cyber warfare attacks. Cyber warfare is becoming the go-to response to different countries in inflicting wars by wanting to avoid cost and time of war. My question is, as we become more digitally connected, how prepared would you say the United States is against cyber attack if the average person can't get over these, what do you call them, ransom attacks?
On the whole, how prepared are we? Probably not very.
What?
Case in point, and I might get the dates wrong, the Colonial Pipeline hack.
Oh, yeah, that was in 2020.
2019,
yeah.
maybe
2020, 2019, yeah, something there. Yeah.
Well, the Colonial Pipeline operators are very typical of large intrastate utilities. Okay, they've got a vital sector of the American economy. The what do they call it? Critical infrastructure, utilities, and gas pipelines, oil pipelines fall into that category, as do railroads, and I guess other logistics companies or industries. But the software that ran the Colonial Pipeline, you talked about the old computers, and would a hacker have been able to utilize those old technologies? And the point that I started on, oftentimes it's the old systems, the software, the coding that drives those enterprises that is very vulnerable. What happened with Colonial Pipeline could have happened with any garden variety oil and gas company,
Well,
any utility.
yeah. And I stand correct. The cybercrime cost estimated not 10.5 billion, 10.5 trillion by
It's
2025.
probably on the international, worldwide, it's probably even higher than that. Because oftentimes, when you are the victim,
we as Americans, the United States would be considered
just in general,
Okay.
Organizations, more so organizations,
cyber, yeah.
or entities, because there's a whole niche within the insurance world providing cyber insurance. So those people, the ransomwares, the hackers.
Well, the 10.5 trillion is worldwide.
Well, but again, that number is probably
Bigger.
Is much larger.
But they're saying it should be there by 2025. So that's next year.
Yeah, well, it's probably already there now. And the whole point with the cyber crimes and cyber insurance companies, when you pay out, you're probably not going to advertise that fact. So
true. So with the Colonial
there's probably quite a bit more.
Didn't we pay a ransom on that? The Colonial gas?
Yeah, and it took them about 18 months, but the FBI.
I thought we weren't able to pay ransoms on
no, they counter-hacked the hackers and retrieved about 90% of the funds. So, yeah. So in terms of the country's ability to defend, counter cyber terrorism, there's a concerted effort to do it at the federal level.
Why do you think we're not ready?
People are the biggest vulnerability in any organization, and that's across any industry sector. You're only as good and as strong as the person who's sitting in front of the terminal or the desktop. If you've got promiscuous data hygiene, you'll probably be able to defeat even the best cyber defenses that you've got in place. If you can't trust the people that work for you, then you're going to have a problem. I can give you all the training, I can give you all the tools, but if you click on that little flashing thing that comes to you in the email, there's not a whole lot I can do.
Why do you think the U.S. is the #1 country targeted for cyber attacks?
Why do people rob banks?
To get money.
That's where the money is.
You don't think it's power?
I think it's all for the organized, the professionals. I think it's strictly a financial play.
You think it's all financial play?
All about the money. Now there may be.
What about the war? Like the possibility, they're saying that cyber warfare is becoming the go-to response for countries inflicting war.
Now there are state-sponsored cyber attacks. Absolutely, North Korea, Israel, Iran, Russia, the United States, and its allies. It's a real thing, to be sure.
Right.
It's easy. What do they call it? The Sputnik thing that they introduced in Iran some years ago that totally derailed their nuclear fusion program. So there are certain political gains that can be had. It's easier to crash a system than it is to send a division of men and women across the world to wage war.
Right, of course.
So there is, to be sure, there is definitely.
It's cost effective.
that, and there's no collateral damage.
True.
So it's a very efficient way to destabilize a country or to inflict harm on an enemy versus dropping a 2,000-pound bomb
Right.
on somebody.
And Russia's like the number one country for hacks.
But it's also too, there are lots of a lot of the criminal organizations reside there, and other countries
In Russia?
Russia, Central Europe, North Korea, countries that typically have an adverse relationship with the United States, or at least a less than cooperative, because extradition, it's harder to get to them. The governments are going to protect them and insulate them to some extent.
What government? Their government?
Yeah, in Russia, there are several. You can generally trace anything over the internet. So if you go through all the packets and as they go routed, you can generally find where the source of the attack is.
Why are they so much more advanced than us with this?
Who's to say they are?
Well, there's studies that show that Russia is they're the number one hackers in the world.
They do a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it gets to the wins you're not going to hear about. Okay, the Colonial Pipeline I think was more of an exception, and I think those of us who are in that world think
it affected all of us. Well, here in Tallahassee, it affected us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the point that the FBI made was, okay, you stole, the insurance company paid them whatever they paid them. Yeah. Well, it goes in and they went to the hackers' bank accounts and just transferred that money right back out. So,
what was the ransom amount for the Colonial? Was it $4 million? Was it like 4.4 million?
Something like that.
So for Colonial Pipeline, it was 4.4 million in cryptocurrency to restore operating systems, and eventually federal authorities retrieved 2.3 million of the ransom.
2.3? Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that's almost 50.
50%.
Yeah, that's pretty high. I mean, but still, they walk away with
something.
$1 million, $7 million.
Yeah.
And in order for us to get access to reverse that, they had to release the hack on us. And because we couldn't figure out how to get past their system to get our gas pipeline back, right? So
the systems, and I forget it's not machine language, but the coding that's been implemented in a lot of the older industrial systems, public utilities, water systems, transmission and distribution facilities. It's not cutting edge stuff. It's not.
Well, we couldn't get past it.
No, apparently they did because they got some of the money back.
Well, they had to pay money to get to it, to get access to the system.
I'm not sure what your question is. I think I think perhaps you're misphrasing or categorizing.
Well, how did we? The question is, how did we get back into the system? How did we reverse it? We were only able. Why were we not able to reverse it before releasing the money?
You say reverse it. Are you talking about restore the functionality of the system or retrieval of the funds?
I'm not a tech guy.
What are you asking me?
I think it was very clear. How were we able to reverse that funding? Because you said we got some of it back, but we had to release some of it in order to get the system back. And then we were able to reverse it. Outside of reversing the funding or reversing the hack, we wouldn't have been able to get
those
into
are two
the
different. You say reverse the funding or reverse the
hack? Reversing the hack. Correct.
Okay. Maybe a better, as a suggestion, a better term would be.
I'm not a tech guy. That's your job.
And you don't listen very well either. To counter hack. So basically they hacked the hackers. They didn't necessarily reverse anything.
So what's
that would be
no. What is the reversal? You talk about the reversal funds. Because we had
they retrieve the funds. If I said reverse, then I would have misspoke.
Yeah. So
and for
so
that,
they
I would apologize if I made a mistake.
It's okay.
But clearly that wasn't the case.
Yeah. So to retrieve the funds,
they simply hacked the hackers. They went into the bank, the crypto vault, and
they hacked the hackers.
Yeah.
But we had to give them money in order to do that.
No. Well,
because there was a ransom and we paid it.
Well, the insurance companies paid it. Yes.
Right. It was paid.
Yeah.
So the only other way we were able to. Is there a way that we could have did it without having to give them the money?
Quite possibly.
Why didn't we do it?
I don't know. They didn't call me. They didn't call me to ask me. It's like, we got this problem here, guy. And,
Well,
and
no, I mean, what is your thought process? Obviously,
but I think I can kind of connect the dots and infer some things about your question. In transferring the funds, okay, that creates a trail, a digital trail, an audit trail, right? So, okay, monies or the crypto went here and da-da-da-da-da. So that left breadcrumbs so the good guys could then
find out where.
on.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that might, if that.
So outside of that, we wouldn't have been able to find
Probably
them or
not.
detect them. Interesting. So we're not that ready.
I think I said that. You asked, the question was,
Right.
how
Are we ready?
And I said probably not very.
Okay. So we're not ready for any major hacks. Do you see this happening again in the future?
Absolutely.
Do you think it'll be a bigger ransom? And now that they kind of got our game on following.
Well, you got to
the
remember
breadcrumbs
too, it was the Colonial Pipeline was a mid-level energy player. It was a big deal, but it wasn't really that big a deal because the company wasn't so consequential, even though it connected 13 states, I think from Texas, Louisiana. The pipelines ran all throughout the mid-south area, but it was a portion of the overall infrastructure. So if you were to say, conversely, if you were to take that same type of hack on a scale with, say, the Southern Company, which is probably one of the bigger regional utilities encompassing Alabama, Georgia, Florida, quite possibly Tennessee. So it depends. Could the dollar amounts go up? Absolutely. Absolutely. The bigger the target, the bigger the payout. But also, too, that takes part of the vulnerability is a company's inability to recover from a hack. If you hack my stuff, I've got backups. If I've got redundancy built into the system, okay, you can have it because I'll just go back to my backup and restore everything that you think you stole. But the problem is, at the enterprise level, a lot of companies only pay lip service to that because there's a cost associated with it, staffing, hardware. It turns into a real thing.
Some countries do this. Some people do this for a living. In other countries, it's like, could they not get in trouble in their own country for something like hacking?
Probably not.
No.
Well, I mean, again, you look at the countries that Iran, North Korea, Russia. I mean, that's why it's called state-sponsored. State-sponsored, the grift is real. You do what you do, and you kick the windfall upstairs.
And we can't, as Americans, we can't do shit about that.
Oh, I think they do. There's some effort. Like I said, there's a considerable effort afoot within the federal and law enforcement agencies to combat it, as well as those companies who are potentially vulnerable. You look at some of the low-hanging fruit would be some of the HIPAA policies that came about in the early 2000s to put in place to safeguard American consumers' healthcare information. Hospitals and medical facilities are another big vulnerability. Both here locally in our community, both hospitals were hacked.
Right, which we will discuss that in the topic today.
And one of the companies, HCA,
what's that stand for?
I believe it's Health Corporation of America. They've been hacked multiple times. So,
do you think that hacking a company or an organization shows the vulnerability of a company?
Absolutely.
So how can a business?
A lot of them, sometimes depending, within the information security world, there are companies that essentially went out of business, and it
from hackers.
The reputational harm. If I, as a managed service provider, if I hack your stuff, not only do I hack your stuff, but I then gain access to all of your clients' stuff. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And then those clients, once they've been victimized,
Right.
it's like, well, why should I subscribe to your enterprise level service if you can't protect me?
Protect us, yeah.
So they go with their competitors, and those companies lose market share, and CEOs get fired. The price of the stock goes down the toilet.
So it kind of fucks with the economy. Or
It could potentially, yeah. It could.
So, cyber crimes worldwide. In the last few months alone, Ukraine's military launched an attack against Russia in April of 2024, last month. DDoS attack that crippled their servers, websites, domains the day of Russia's victory dictation. Germany plans to create, which is an ally of ours, to create a cyber military as part of its branch restructuring. Iranian hackers compromised an IT network connected to the Israeli nuclear facility, and Russia hackers launched a phishing attack against German political parties, used fake dinner invitations to install a backdoor onto victims' computers. With the escalation of cyber threats, what's your perspective of the current state of cyber warfare as it relates to the international conflict and security of the possibility of World War III?
When you say World War III, I assume you're talking about nuclear strikes and that sort of thing, which I don't think is as big a possibility, but there, no doubt. Now, you mentioned all those statistics, but one of them that's also at least noteworthy is annually, I think next year there'll be, just within this country alone, probably close to $250 billion, $250 billion that are dedicated dollars spent to combat cyber crimes and provide digital security. So from a market share, there's a greater expenditure on prevention, response, detection.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a growth industry within the IT within the IT world. So there are increasingly large amounts of dollars being dedicated to thwart the likelihood of what you just mentioned.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, guys. We'll be right back. We're gonna take a quick break. We're back on. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with Sylvester Thompson. He wants us to call him Sly.
My whole fucking name.
He wants us to call him Sly. We were talking about cyber warfares and the possibility of warfares. Sly, have you ever been hacked?
There was an attempt. There was an attempt many years ago.
An attempt?
Mm-hmm. I had intrusion detection on my home network, so I caught it. And this was well over 20 years ago. Well over 20 years.
If you were ever hacked, would you be able to get past it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be able to do the breadcrumb trails as well?
There would be no need. I'd simply erase the device and retrieve it back up, and I wouldn't miss a beat.
But that's like stuff that Apple does.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there any technical verbiage that you can tell us in a way if someone hacks you without restoring, or what if somebody did not back their files up?
SOL.
Really?
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do about that.
I would no.
You personally, if your files weren't backed up.
Tenants in this co-work facility 3 months ago, was it? Was hacked. Let me rephrase that. She had malware on her PC.
What's the difference between malware and being hacked?
A hack is a more specific. You know, you're targeting a specific individual system. You know, whereas a malware is just you kind of throw shit against the wall and hopefully some of it'll stick. Some poor unsuspecting consumer will click on it, and then it just kind of spreads that way. It's a much less specific an attack, and designed in a way to reach the largest number of people, whereas a hack is probably a little bit more specific to, a specific victim.
What would be the benefit of a malware, though, for someone to
Well, okay,
use malware against somebody's system?
in that specific example, the malware detected other systems, Windows-based systems, and it on the same network on a Wi-Fi system, it attempted to start a RDP session, a remote desktop connection, which then gives the attacker control of the victim's PC. And if you do that enough, if you do it to the unsuspecting grandmother at home, if I can get her PC or get control of her PC, she goes online to pay a bill, I get checking account numbers, I get routing numbers, I get credit card information, I get the ability to extract valuable information and eventually dollars. If you do it enough times against enough people, you're going to find the honeypot. You're going to find somebody that makes that attack worthwhile. It's strictly a numbers game. You throw enough of it out there, eventually you're going to find a hit.
So people are still specialized. So would somebody who's specialized in malware also be specialized in hacking? Could they be
Quite possibly.
interchangeable?
Very, very much so. But in that instance, her efforts were defeated because, as I remember the chain of events, she was in very close proximity. I had a PC that had all those intrusion detections and firewalls and all those products on there. And as soon as the malware attempted to connect itself, I got a notification and a phone call from our the client's centralized cybersecurity department. Hey, there's been an attempt to compromise your PC. But again, when you work with a multi-gazillion-dollar company, you've got additional resources that the average consumer is not going to have available to them. So it's not quite the same thing.
Would you prefer a Mac or a PC?
Interestingly enough, my career is 100% PC oriented.
Sorry about that.
But for my own personal use, I use a Mac.
You okay with the mic?
Not particularly, but I'm going to make it work.
Because I can hear your hand
No, I'm
moving.
good. I'm good.
I know I can hear your hand moving.
Did you
It's
hear
not the
that?
mic, it's the stand.
Well, get a better stand. I have one at home.
I have two at home. I don't know why it's not working for you. Our last guest did great. You're making problems. You come on the show today bringing problems.
Carry on.
Thank you. Jesus, help us, Lord. So, Mac or PC, you prefer a PC?
My own personal use would be a Mac. And the reason being primarily, the biggest driver to that is the synergy and integration of my Apple iPhone, which I absolutely love.
So you're just using it for the continuity feature. Not so
That's a
much-
big part of it. Well, here's the thing also too. I needed, at the time that I made that purchase at a personal level, I needed another PC. And
I mean,
like,
as far as viruses and malwares, what would you prefer outside
the
of
Mac, I believe, is intrinsically more reliable, less vulnerable in that sense. It's not 100%, but it has a higher resilience than, say, a Windows PC.
Could you walk us through what a hacker does with the process of hacking? Like the research, like what do they do? How do they identify that you're the person they want to hack?
No, again, okay, let's go back. Now, a hacker, the people who hacked the Colonial Pipeline, they knew exactly who they were targeting. They know what they were looking for versus the malware guy, right? Now, the malware, he doesn't know. I did what you said, let it go. So I let it go. And it goes.
Let it go. Just let it go.
And it goes and it wants to sit in Abby's lap. Dude.
I don't know what's going on. I see. Oh, that's what it is.
What's that? It's just,
Sorry.
dude, this is
I'm sorry.
but you're gonna get a write up to HR, my friend. Is this on camera, Dacia?
Dacia.
Dude, shut up. It's Dacia.
It's Dacia, actually.
Oh, I'll just go back to calling you Dacia. How about that?
Lordy have mercy.
Ms. Williams, there you are.
There you go. I lost train of thought. What did I ask him?
It's because you're groping the poor intern.
I didn't
Dude,
not.
That looked very uncomfortable to her.
Abby, were you uncomfortable?
That was fine.
I told you she was fine. Going back, you going off topic again. Once again, you coming on still in the show like you always do.
It's not
All right.
very difficult, but
No,
go
it's
ahead.
Yes, for this specific topic. That's how you get them. All right. What was the question? We asked you, Max, PC. Oh, walking us through the process of what that looks like for a hacker. Are they like researching individuals and then saying, "Hey, I want this person. I want to hack this person." And how the hell do they know you got money?
Okay, let's just say, I don't think it's as specific to it. Perhaps, I mean, you might, what they call it, spear phishing. Okay, I'm going to attack a high-profile C-suite executive at a major money center bank. So that would be that level of specificity, right? Okay, I'm gonna hack this individual because he's got the keys to the kingdom, right? His company's gonna have a cybersecurity policy. They're gonna pay the ransom. You pay the ransom because you don't want your customers and your business partners to know that your company is vulnerable, right? So that's why you pay it, you hush it up, nobody talks about it. You pay the insurance claims. You also sign an NDA that you're not gonna talk about it, okay? So that number that you stated earlier, again, I say it's probably quite a bit higher because the people who've been majorly affected, they can't talk about it, right? They can't tell you, yeah, we got hacked for 10x millions of dollars because the insurance company, public knowledge and disclosure of those events would cause more damage to the business than, say, the loss or the increase in premiums from paying the hack.
What if the business can't afford the ransom?
You can go out of business. Tough shit. It's a zero-sum economy. And the world is not very forgiving of people who don't have redundant systems or backups. You know, if you're mom and pop business and your structure gets hacked, don't call me.
So there's no way of getting around that. We don't have a system in place. So what is these insurance claims for then?
Yeah, but if you don't take out the policy,
Can't.
hell, the local hospital, they spend tens of millions of dollars.
This don't make me feel good about the hacking and our capabilities.
If you protect your stuff, you keep it in the cloud, you keep redundant services. This is a horrible analogy, but it's like wearing a condom when you have sex.
Okay, so
you protect your shit.
So is the
and if you don't protect yourself, that's a risk that you run.
So my question then is, so say someone hacks you, they want a ransom, that you pay them the ransom and they still don't release your shit, then what?
That's quite possible. And there's certain safeguards, like when they do the exchanges, you know, give us a little bit of money, we'll give you a little bit of your data back, you know, and there's that kind of process. But that's a real cost. I mean, that's why you don't negotiate with terrorists.
So how do you,
or criminals?
So how do you get your business back established?
You might not. It's not like there's an escrow account that you set up in a trusted source for hackers.
Okay, well, how do we prevent shit like that from happening?
Well, redundant systems, services, subscriptions, protection services, the ransomware insurance. They're not going to hack broke people or poor people.
Right, because we ain't got no money.
Because you ain't got no money.
Right.
So they don't care about you.
Right.
If they hack you, go buy another damn PC and keep it moving.
I'm not feeling too good about that.
Nobody cares.
I do.
Well,
I care. And
you can afford to buy another PC.
Yeah, I can, but who wants to do that? But I'm saying, so
say,
say I get larger,
but ISO
get
2,
ISO 2. Yeah, then it makes sense.
You use a Mac, your stuff's on iCloud. You go to a different device, you sign into it, boom, there's your stuff.
I'm talking about like a CRM system or systems that require okay, for example, like the Tallahassee hospital got hacked, right? Mm-hmm. What if they were not able to retrieve their
Some people would say, I don't know when that was, 9 months ago?
Yeah, because there's a database that collects all of our stuff. Patients that come
they
in,
still
outpatients.
are in the process, the throes of recovering from that.
They're still recovering from that. So even a large scale organization like the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital that was hacked, are you saying that there was a ransom paid? Was there a ransom paid?
I believe there was. There was the unspoken that there was, yeah.
That's insane that we don't have a system within our government that combats against that or protects businesses or individuals from hacks and situations like that does not run their business into the ground.
I don't know that that's the government's responsibility to protect billion-dollar institutions from making stupid decisions. In that particular organization, they've got hundreds of IT staff.
How is it a
employees.
stupid decision? They didn't know.
They've got people who they pay good money to who are supposed to know. They have IT directors. They have information security analysts. They have audit analysts. They have firewalls and routers and switches and the very latest defense measures, perimeter defenses. They were lazy. They were
Maybe not knowledgeable or
not so much
uneducated.
knowledgeable, but I think there's a certain level of hubris that goes with certain computing environments.
You can't be using words like hubris with me because I don't know what that is.
Dude, you got a fucking master's degree.
What does that mean?
Now, of course, it was from Florida State, but anywho, arrogance. They lacked self-awareness. They thought their poop didn't stink.
You hit the mic again, by the way. You're doing this to the microphone, just to let you know.
Okay, can I just hold this in my hand?
If you hold it, I can hear your fingerprints. It's a really sensitive mic, so I can hear your hand touching the mic. Can you do it without touching? Can you?
The damn thing keeps it keeps moving.
Podcast without bumping it. This is why
Emily,
you saw on the call sheet.
Emily,
it said-
Abigail, let's change.
You want to switch?
Let's change places.
No, we can't.
Why can't we?
Because that's continuity. You know about continuity. That's why you got a Mac and Apple and all the other stuff. Continuity purposes.
How about this? Is this good? If I hold it from here and not the... Okay, dude, if you try to hunch me, we're going to have a problem.
Sorry,
You're good.
It's the tech guy. It's our tech guy.
It's a fake plan anyway.
We got to get him off the show.
Promise?
Are you okay with your mic, Abby?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay, it's okay.
I'm sorry, where were we?
I have no idea. You lost me once again with the tech hack. Well, with the technical issues you have over there. Mike, feel comfortable to you?
The mic is cool.
All right, great. We were talking about the Colonial. No,
actually, I thought we left that a while.
No, not Colonial, Tallahassee hacking and things of that nature.
But there is, within our IT community, there is a strongly held belief that there was a ransom paid to the tune of $10 million.
But that's something that wouldn't be available to the public to know.
There were some newspaper articles in comments about that. Yeah.
Do we know from research if there was any ransom paid?
I've not found anything specific to it.
I'm curious. So it could be that hush hush money. It could be under the table.
Could be.
Or
Most likely, yeah.
Or maybe their hackers were able to figure out a way to get past the hacking system.
So to give an idea of how much it was or could have been, a full healthcare record of an individual sells anywhere from $1,000, a few hundred to $1,000. So probably one of the more financially advantageous pieces of information is you could sell it on the dark web.
And here's the thing about that hack in particular. Not only did they hack the hospital, they hacked the offices of all the practitioners who are in their network.
What will be the reason? For money?
Hell yeah. You don't hack for grins and giggles. Nobody's going to risk going to federal prison just to say, ooh, golly geez, look what I did.
So you don't think that there's any other motives behind hacking outside of money?
Oh, there are, absolutely. But you don't take on that type of risk just to, stick your chest out to make a point or, whatever advocacy that you might practice or believe in. It was strictly for the money.
What would it look like if we got our grid lines hacked, our power sources?
You know, what was it
Is it
like to
possible?
live 4 days without electricity from the latest set of tornadoes?
Is it possible?
Very likely. But you're more apt. But you live in Florida. You do realize that, right?
Yeah.
Hurricane Central.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm familiar with no power.
Yeah. For days, weeks at a time. So
Correct.
you just take that and just
Magnified.
yeah.
Because
After about 3 or 4 days, yeah, you really start to feel it.
would you not think that that would be a great war tactic? Is to hack into power systems or grid
Absolutely.
lines?
That's why it's called
to-
critical infrastructure.
Right. Do we
Yeah,
not?
that's a major vulnerability. Yes.
That's why I'm asking. We don't have government officials in place to be able to prevent these kind of things from happening that we could
I have my
correlate
hand
to.
up, so that's an indication that you get to call on me.
Okay, wait.
So,
wait. I'll
but
wait.
here's
Hold
the
on.
point.
I didn't call on you.
But
So
here's the point. Let me help you there. If you, my friend, know these things, surely the powers that be also know those things.
Right.
So the conversation isn't groundbreaking.
It's not groundbreaking.
Yeah. So there are, trust me, there are some people out there who get paid a lot of money to help make sure that occurrence doesn't happen. It's not to say it's foolproof. It isn't by no means would I say that or suggest that. But there is a again, $250 billion annually just within this country. And that's just in the private sector. Okay, that's just Fortune 2000 and other SMBs that are out there. So there's a fairly robust.
If that's the case, then we know
Efforts.
that we can talk about local cyber attacks then. If we're spending all this money to prevent these hacks from happening, in 2023, Tallahassee Memorial, as we just discussed, was hacked. Hackers had access to it for 7 days, causing 2-week digital shutdown. Less than 1 month later, a foreign hacker stole $500,000 from Tallahassee employees' payrolls. In April 2024, Florida Juvenile Justice Department was hacked for ransom. And these hackers were seeking ransom, although government agencies are prohibiting from paying ransoms. So with that being said, how protected are we? Because you said that we have these government agencies that are able to
Couple
help
of things.
prevent these.
Specifically, there's legislation that was signed 2 years ago with the state of Florida. So that state of Florida entities, governor's agencies, don't pay ransom. There's very ambiguous language in that legislation. There's nothing that I've read that says my insurance carrier cannot pay the ransom. It's a very important distinction. So a little bit of wordsmithing there. So I'm sure the Department of Juvenile Justice did not pay a ransom.
Right.
But there's nothing to say that an agency's liability or general, business insurance.
Well, that goes back to what we talked about earlier then, because when we were talking about businesses getting hacked, that they can't afford to pay the ransom. So we're saying that these agencies are paying the ransom, and what if they?
Or their insurance carriers are most typically. But again, within that specific area, I'd probably need to do a little bit more research. But again, most of the claims that are paid, the dollars that are paid, are through insurance claims.
Not the businesses themselves.
Correct.
So in the event that a business get hacked, if they don't have what kind of insurance is that called?
Cybersecurity insurance.
So without cybersecurity insurance and they get hacked, they're not allowed to pay the ransom even if they have.
No, that is for government agencies. It is not
for private.
Yeah, you do whatever you want with your own stuff, and you get it back the best way you can. But if you've not gotten a really good data hygiene, you probably aren't going to spend the extra money to get that type of insurance. Those two things they tend not to go hand in glove.
When should a person pay for insurance like that? When should a business pay for insurance? Do they get to a larger scale? Does it depend on the systems that they're using that operates the business? But
depending on what kind of business it is, a lot of it is may be mandated. If you are a keeper of the stuff, is probably protected by federal legislation. HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley. Your bank is required to do certain things because they are insured and regulated by the federal government. So there are additional compliance measures that are in place. So depending if you're talking about Maybell's mom and pop ice cream parlor, they're probably going to have a much more difficult time recovering from a cyber attack versus what I generally refer to as a regulated entity. So there's different levels of vulnerability. Again, the hackers, a malware, he's going to throw as wide a net as he can. And the off chance he might get a high net worth victim. But someone who's a part of an organized criminal enterprise, he's going to go after a specific target. As Abby stated, the price of a medical record on the dark web has got whatever value to it. You multiply that times 40 or 50,000 potential medical records. That's a much higher dollar value. It might be worthwhile to risk going to federal prison if I can get, a 7-figure payout.
He hit it again.
And that was quite by accident. And I did hit it, America.
It did not fall.
This time.
Because he fixed it.
Listen.
Janky.
It's not janky. It just wasn't on tight. That's all.
Pilot error.
You're
You're supposed to be the professional here, guy.
I feel like right now I'm a tech professional right now.
Dude, you screwed the freaking microphone. That is not. Don't put that on your resume.
First of all,
don't put that on your resume. You don't get to stick your chest out.
You know what happened? I figured it out. But you know what else? You were sitting there the whole time looking at it and didn't figure it out for an hour straight.
First of all, you're gonna lower your voice. Lower your voice. Woo-sa.
You haven't heard an elevated voice, Mr. Sylvester Stallone.
Hey, you'll be smoking menthol cigarettes. You keep on, buddy.
No, okay, yeah, you're right. This is my cigar plug.
Keep on.
It's like no more $300 for me. All right, so last question though. Okay, so how can we protect ourselves against cyber warfare and hacking? Like that's a really big thing. How can a person from a consumer level
be something as simple as having a complex password?
That's too simple.
No, but you'd be surprised. That is a heck of a head start. Get a 12-character password set.
Most people won't remember their password if it's that long.
They have that old Apple commercial. There's an app for that. I make a point personally not to try to remember my passwords.
Why?
Because I have tools. Boom, I go there. Boom, it supplies a password. Password gets rotated at, it's either 54, 74 days. That gives me a higher level of security. But it's a simple thing, but it's a very powerful thing. Now, the thing is, one of my favorite apps, or formerly one of my favorite apps, and you have to be careful. Again, we talk about Hubris. What was the company? Gosh. I used their password app for years. And again, you hack the service provider, you then have the ability to hack all of the clients of the service provider. So, there are certain levels of redundancy. You put stuff in the cloud, you use iCloud, you use Google Drive, you use Microsoft's, I believe it's OneDrive. If you have your data in a central repository that's not your local device, that gives you an added level of protection. If they steal, a better example, you leave your laptop in the car, somebody steals your laptop, okay? They don't necessarily steal your business because you'd get another device, you log into it, and boom, you get all your data. If you're using QuickBooks for your billing and invoicing and those tasks, those mission critical things aren't tied to a device.
Right.
But if you don't have a complex password and I can hack that service provider, that cloud provider. Again, so password isn't a cure-all by any means, but it's an excellent deterrent. Just by putting a few extra special characters in a password, you have created an exponentially more difficult task in hacking a system. So something as simple as a good password. That's not an actual word.
Right.
Yeah.
Numbers and symbols.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, a combination of letters, numbers, and symbols or special characters.
Yeah. Mac does that where it kind of populates what they think will work best for
and like you said, nobody can remember it.
Right.
But I use that as part of my I don't want to remember it.
Right.
If you ask me what my password was, I'm like, hell, I don't know. Now, I do have one master password that I do have to remember.
Right.
Because that is the keeper of all the other passwords.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. And that's our show. Thank you all for tuning in to the I'm Just Here to Listen podcast on the topic of cyber warfare, accompanied to us by Mr. Sly Thompson. And just remember that you guys can follow us on all the social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can also watch this podcast live on YouTube. So be sure to tune in, and thank you guys for tuning in with us today. And I'm Just Here to Listen podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. I'm Just Here to Listen podcast is a production of Jermaine Delmas